Hello and welcome. This is Gary from Mastery Audiobooks. Thank you for joining me as we journey through The Psychology of Money Habits, Science-Backed Ways to Stop Overspending and Build Lasting Wealth, written by Taylor Reed Haley. This audiobook isn't just about money. It's about you, your mindset, and how the latest science can help you break free from old financial patterns. Whether you struggle with emotional spending, want to build confidence around saving, or finally wish to create lasting wealth, you're in the right place. This book goes beyond numbers and budgets. Inside, you'll discover how childhood, emotion, identity, and habit loops shape your choices, often without you even realizing it. You'll learn simple, proven steps to rewire those patterns, turning small changes into transformations that last. Each chapter offers stories, psychological insights, and clear, practical actions that anyone can follow. I'll guide you through each section, from hidden spending triggers to abundance mindsets, from designing systems that work on autopilot to building habits that grow your wealth quietly and powerfully over time. Wherever you're starting, this book will meet you there and show you how to move forward one clear step at a time. So, find a comfortable place, relax, and get ready to change the way you think and feel about money forever. Let's begin. The Psychology of Money Habits, Science-Backed Way. How to rewire your mindset, break emotional spending, and build automatic wealth systems. Taylor Reed Haley. Introduction. Why this book matters and how to use this book for maximum transformation. Sarah earns a solid income, budgets religiously, and genuinely wants financial security. Yet every month, her account balance tells the same frustrating story. Not enough saved, too much spent, and a nagging sense that she's failing despite her best efforts. She reads finance books, listens to podcasts, and follows expert advice, but nothing sticks. The problem isn't that Sarah lacks intelligence or information. She knows what to do. The issue is that knowing and doing are separated by psychology, the invisible emotional patterns, unconscious habits, and mental frameworks that quietly control her financial behavior. You've likely experienced something similar. You promise yourself you'll save more, spend less, or invest consistently, only to find yourself repeating the same patterns weeks later. The frustration grows because it feels like a personal failure, proof that you're simply bad with money. But here's the liberating truth. Most people struggle with finances not because they lack discipline or smarts, but because they've never been taught how psychology, emotion, and habit shape every money decision they make. Traditional finance education focuses on strategies, formulas, and tactics, how to budget, where to invest, when to save. These are important, but they miss the foundation. Your relationship with money is psychological before it's mathematical. Until you understand the emotional triggers driving impulse purchases, the childhood beliefs shaping your self-worth around wealth, and the automatic habits controlling daily spending, lasting change remains out of reach. You're trying to solve a behavioral problem with informational tools, and that mismatch explains why so many smart, capable people remain financially stuck. This book is different. It recognizes that financial success is less about intelligence and more about behavior. It integrates cutting-edge psychology, habit science, and behavioral economics with practical, actionable strategies designed to rewire how you think, feel, and act with money. The goal isn't just improving your bank balance. It's transforming your entire financial identity so that wealth-building behaviors become natural, automatic, and emotionally satisfying. When psychology aligns with strategy, change stops being a battle and starts being inevitable. Most financial advice assumes you're a perfectly rational decision-maker who simply needs better information. But decades of behavioral research prove otherwise. We're driven by emotions like fear and greed, shaped by cognitive biases like loss aversion and instant gratification, and controlled by subconscious scripts formed in childhood. Understanding these psychological forces is the difference between temporary improvement and lasting transformation. This book matters because it addresses the real obstacles, not your lack of knowledge, but your unexamined psychology. Consider two people with identical incomes and expenses. One consistently builds wealth while the other struggles. The difference isn't superior financial literacy, it's behavioral mastery. The successful person has learned to recognize emotional triggers before they become purchases, automate decisions to bypass willpower, and align money choices with deeply held values. They've built systems that work with human psychology instead of fighting it. This book teaches you those same skills, giving you tools that address root causes rather than symptoms. Financial psychology influences everything: how much you earn, how you negotiate, whether you save consistently, how you invest, and whether you experience money as stress or freedom. When you understand why you overspend during stress, why saving feels like loss, or why comparison triggers wasteful purchases, you gain leverage to change those patterns permanently. Each chapter reveals another layer of your money psychology, providing not just insight but specific exercises and strategies to reshape behavior at its source. What makes this book transformative is its integration of three elements rarely combined: psychological understanding, habit formation science, and practical implementation systems. You'll learn why you do what you do, how to build new neural pathways through deliberate practice, and exactly which systems and routines make good behaviors automatic. This isn't theory. It's a structured, step-by-step process that hundreds of people have used to fundamentally change their financial lives, not through willpower or deprivation, but through understanding and strategic design. The book is structured in 4 parts. Part 1 explores why you spend the way you do, uncovering emotional patterns and childhood conditioning. Part 2 focuses on rewiring your wealth mindset, shifting from scarcity to abundance and from shame to confidence. Part 3 teaches the habits and systems that build wealth, spending, saving, and investing frameworks that work automatically. Part 4 provides a complete 90-day reset program with weekly themes and daily practices to cement transformation. By the end, you won't just know more about money, you'll be a different person in relation to it. This matters because financial stress affects every area of life: relationships, health, career choices, and overall well-being. When money causes constant anxiety, it drains energy from everything else that matters. But when you master the psychology behind your financial behavior, money becomes a tool that supports your life rather than dominating it. You make calm, intentional decisions. You save without feeling deprived. You invest with confidence instead of fear. You earn what you're worth because you believe you're worthy. That transformation ripples through every dimension of your existence, creating freedom, peace, and possibility. This book is designed as both a learning journey and a practical manual. To gain maximum benefit, approach it actively rather than passively. Reading alone creates insight. Reading plus application creates transformation. Here's how to engage with the material for the deepest, most lasting change. Follow chapters in sequence. The book builds progressively, with each chapter providing foundation for the next. Part 1 establishes psychological awareness, understanding your patterns, triggers, and inherited beliefs. Part 2 shifts mindset from limiting to empowering frameworks. Part 3 introduces specific systems and habits. Part 4 guides implementation through structured 90-day plans. Skipping ahead might feel tempting, but the sequential structure ensures concepts build on each other, creating comprehensive transformation rather than fragmented improvement. Implement exercises and reflection prompts immediately. Every chapter includes practical exercises, journaling prompts, and self-assessment tools. Don't skip these. They convert abstract concepts into personal insight and behavioral change. When a chapter asks you to identify emotional triggers or map childhood money beliefs, pause and complete the exercise before moving forward. These aren't optional extras. They're the mechanism through which psychological understanding becomes practical skill. Set aside 10 to 20 minutes after each chapter for implementation. Use the 90-day action plans as your roadmap. Part 4 provides detailed 30-day programs for awareness, systems, and growth. These aren't suggestions. They're proven protocols that create sustainable change when followed consistently. Commit to completing all 90 days, even when motivation wanes or progress feels slow. The structure works precisely because it removes guesswork, providing clear daily actions that compound into major transformation. Trust the process, follow the steps, and document your journey. Journal regularly throughout your reading. Keep a dedicated notebook for tracking insights, emotional reactions, spending patterns, and behavioral experiments. Journaling serves multiple purposes. It increases self-awareness, provides accountability, reveals patterns over time, and creates a record of progress that motivates continued effort. Even 5 minutes daily of financial journaling produces dramatic improvements in decision-making. Contrast this with the rare afternoons Sarah lets herself relax. She reviews her year and realizes that despite her fears, she's always found a way through challenges. She makes a small plan to invest in a skill course and chooses gratitude over anxiety. That day, her brain feels lighter. New options seem possible. The numbers haven't changed, but her mindset has, and that mental shift opens doors her former self couldn't even see. This is the power of switching from scarcity to abundance. Scarcity and abundance aren't just bank balances, they're brain patterns. Scarcity mindset is triggered by threats, real or imagined, and floods the body with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. When you sense a shortage, your brain narrows its focus to immediate dangers. Psychologists call this tunnel vision. You become laser-focused on what's missing: money, time, opportunities. Other possibilities fade into the background. This mental narrowing leads to risk aversion and short-term thinking. The fear of loss, making a mistake, or not having enough encourages decisions like hoarding cash, avoiding investments, or skipping opportunities to grow. Even if your financial situation is objectively stable, the mindset keeps you anxious and hesitant. Mental bandwidth shrinks, leaving little room for creativity or planning. Scarcity also creates self-reinforcing fear loops. The more you focus on what you lack, the more your brain confirms those fears, and the harder it becomes to see beyond them. It's no coincidence that people stressed about money procrastinate planning, delay investments, or react defensively. Abundance mindset flips this script. When you frame money as a tool, rather than a threat, the brain relaxes and becomes solution-oriented. Abundance thinking doesn't mean ignoring challenges. It means acknowledging reality while believing in possibility. This mindset increases mental flexibility, promotes learning from mistakes, and helps you spot chances for growth. Opportunity mapping becomes possible. You see ways to build, invest, and contribute, rather than just survive. Abundance encourages you to invest in skills, relationships, and experiences. When operating from this mental space, you make financial choices from a place of confidence, not anxiety. Small daily acts, like tracking your progress, practicing gratitude, or reframing setbacks, help the brain wire for opportunity instead of loss. The shift from scarcity to abundance may not change your bank balance overnight, but it will change how you experience money and the paths you're willing to pursue. The most common mistake people make in a scarcity mindset is over-focusing on what's missing. They scrutinize every expense, avoid risk, put off important financial planning, and often compare their situation to others, fueling envy or hopelessness. These habits reinforce the cycle of anxiety and hesitation. When your mind is set on not enough, every challenge feels bigger and positive change feels out of reach. Another mistake is equating past setbacks with future limits. People assume that one loss or failure means opportunity won't come again, so they procrastinate or avoid decisions out of fear. This makes them miss out on potential gains, and the cycle of scarcity thinking continues. Even efforts to budget or save can become twisted by fear. Every slip-up feels like disaster, and wins go unnoticed because the mind is looking for problems. The shift starts when you consciously reframe financial stress. Instead of seeing challenges as proof of failure, see them as opportunities to learn and grow. Notice patterns in your thinking. When do you focus on limits instead of options? Practice switching your focus to what you have, not just what you lack. Gratitude journaling helps train the mind to look for abundance by recording small wins and resources already in your life. Resource tracking, cataloging your skills, relationships, and progress expands your sense of possibility. Reframing losses as lessons rather than threats unlocks mental bandwidth for planning and creativity. Celebrate every small step forward, as repeated wins reinforce a mindset of growth and sufficiency. As your perspective changes, your actions follow. Instead of shrinking back, you set bold yet realistic goals, invest in yourself, and approach money with a sense of agency. This small but powerful shift reduces anxiety and unlocks forward momentum. Abundance is not about pretending scarcity doesn't exist, but about not letting fear make the rules. Turning scarcity into abundance is a habit, not just a thought. Practical steps help your brain and body experience the difference, making the new mindset stick. 1. Scarcity awareness journaling. Dedicate 5 minutes each evening to writing down moments when scarcity thinking showed up. Fears, comparisons, worry about what you don't have. Then list at least one thing you already possess that adds value to your life, skills, support, small achievements. This trains the brain to seek balance and spot abundance. 2. Opportunity mapping. Once a week, review your spending, saving, or working habits and ask, where is there a hidden opportunity? Maybe it's a small project to earn extra, a way to invest in learning, or a relationship to nurture. Even tiny opportunities, when mapped, shift attention from limitation to growth. 3. Reframe lack as challenge. When faced with a limit, ask yourself, if this was a puzzle to solve, what might I try? Treat financial obstacles as creative prompts, not verdicts. This reframing taps into curiosity and opens energy for innovation. 4. Set bold, realistic goals. Choose one financial goal that feels slightly beyond your comfort but attainable. Break it into small steps and track progress. The act of setting and moving toward a meaningful target reinforces the abundance mindset. You begin acting from vision, not fear. 5. Practice generosity and growth investment. Once a month, give intentionally, whether time, support, or money, in a way that aligns with your values. Invest in personal development, a book, a course, a coffee with a mentor. Generosity and self-investment signal the brain that resources are renewable, not finite. Example 1. From hoarding to confidence. Eli used to keep all his money in a low-interest account, terrified of losing a cent. Every bill felt like a threat. With help, he started tracking how small investments in his skills paid off. He shifted focus from, I can't afford risk, to investing in growth makes me safer. Over time, confidence grew, making calculated risks feel empowering, not terrifying. Example 2. The reframing saver. Priya always saw setbacks as disasters. One failed venture destroyed her drive. Through gratitude, journaling, and resource tracking, she learned to see every loss as insight. Her financial recovery accelerated when she stopped letting fear dictate her story and started reimagining herself as resilient, not unlucky. Example 3. The generosity loop. Carlos grew up with the message, protect what you have. He barely gave to others, fearing it would leave him lacking. Gradually, he practiced small acts of generosity. To his surprise, each act made him feel richer and more connected, softening his scarcity script and opening his mind to new collaborations and support. Every case underscores a core truth. The more you cultivate abundance thinking, the safer and braver your financial actions become. Habits like journaling, reframing, tracking, and generosity rewire your mind for opportunity and optimism. Over time, these practices compound, turning every challenge into an invitation for growth and every resource into a seed for greater wealth. Chapter 6. Why Self-Worth Equals Net Worth. Consider this. Jamie is a skilled freelance designer who shies away from quoting her true value to clients. She hesitates to ask for higher rates, downplays successes, and sometimes works overtime just to be liked. Across town, Daniel habitually buys new clothes and the latest gadget, hoping colleagues will notice and admire him. Both are moving through life with the brakes on, not because they lack financial knowledge, but because their self-worth sets the ceiling on their financial behaviors. For many, money choices run beneath the surface, deeply influenced by how we see ourselves. If your self-esteem dips, you may avoid budgeting, hesitate to invest, or even undercharge, not because you lack ability, but because deep down you question your right to grow or earn more. The way you see your own value becomes the blueprint for what you believe is possible, not only in relationships or career, but also with wealth. Think of a time you received a compliment or a raise. Did you truly feel deserving, or did you discount the achievement? Our beliefs about worthiness quietly shape financial destiny. Sally, for example, used to spend to keep up with her friends, feeling validated by praise for her taste. When she began valuing herself beyond possessions, she made bolder savings decisions and pursued higher-paying roles. Her money habits transformed only after her self-image shifted. This deep link between self-worth and net worth is at the heart of confident, healthy money choices. The psychology of self-worth and money is rooted in how we define value, not just what we can buy, but who we believe we are. Create separate savings accounts for different purposes: emergency fund, vacation, home down payment. Label each clearly. When money has identity and purpose, it feels protected and meaningful rather than generic and movable. Studies show mental accounting increases saving consistency because each dollar carries intention. Purpose transforms numbers into progress. 6. Track milestones visually. Use a chart, app, or simple checklist to track savings growth. Seeing progress visually activates reward centers in the brain and reinforces positive identity. Each check mark or upward graph line provides immediate feedback, making the abstract act of saving feel tangible and satisfying. Visual tracking converts invisible behavior into visible achievement. 7. Reframe every deposit. Before each transfer, pause and say, "This is me choosing security," or "This builds my freedom." Reframing shifts the emotional narrative from loss to gain. Over time, this mental habit rewires perception, making saving feel empowering rather than restrictive. Language shapes emotion, and emotion shapes behavior. Example 1. The automatic builder. Nathan struggled to save manually, always finding reasons to skip months. He set up automatic transfers of $50 per paycheck to a separate high-yield account. Within a year, he had saved over $1,000 without thinking about it. The automation removed emotional friction entirely, and watching the balance grow became a quiet source of pride. Example 2. The goal visualizer. Emma dreamed of visiting Japan but couldn't stick to savings. She created a vision board with images of Tokyo, set a target amount, and visualized the trip daily. Savings shifted from deprivation to anticipation. 18 months later, she took the trip debt-free. The emotional connection to the goal made every deposit feel exciting rather than painful. Example 3. The mental accountant. Ryan had one savings account that constantly got raided for various reasons. He opened 3 separate accounts: emergency, car replacement, and fun experiences. Each had a purpose and visual tracker. Suddenly, the urge to withdraw vanished because each account had identity. Within 2 years, all 3 reached their targets. Purpose protected progress. Example 4. The microsaver. Jasmine felt overwhelmed by the idea of saving. She started by saving just $1 daily using a Roundup app. The amount felt insignificant, so resistance never appeared. After 3 months, she increased to $3 daily. A year later, she had over $700 saved, and the habit was effortless. Small beginnings built unstoppable momentum. These real-life transformations share a common thread. Saving becomes natural when it's automated, emotionally rewarding, and aligned with meaningful purpose. The strategies don't fight human psychology, they work with it. By removing friction, adding positive reinforcement, and connecting behavior to identity and goals, saving shifts from an uncomfortable obligation to a satisfying habit that builds wealth, confidence, and lasting financial security. True financial freedom begins with consistent saving, and consistent saving begins with understanding your brain. When you stop relying on willpower and start designing systems that make saving automatic and emotionally rewarding, wealth accumulation becomes inevitable. Each deposit is a vote for the life you want to build, and over time, those votes compound into financial stability, opportunity, and peace of mind that no purchase could ever provide. Chapter 12. Behavioral Investing, Simple and Stress-Free. Marcus checks his portfolio during lunch and sees red numbers everywhere. Panic floods his chest. Within minutes, he's selling positions, desperate to stop the bleeding. 3 months later, the market rebounds, and those same investments have recovered and grown. Marcus missed the gains because emotion, not analysis, drove his decision. He isn't alone. Research consistently shows that most investment losses stem not from bad picks, but from behavioral mistakes, panic selling, overconfident buying, and reacting to short-term noise instead of staying calm and consistent. Behavioral finance reveals a powerful truth. Investment success depends far more on managing emotions than predicting markets. Traditional finance assumes investors are rational, but decades of psychological research prove otherwise. We're wired with cognitive biases, fear, greed, herd mentality, loss aversion, that distort judgment and sabotage long-term goals. Understanding these patterns and building simple behavioral guardrails transforms investing from a stressful gamble into a calm, structured process that compounds wealth steadily over time. Consider two investors with identical portfolios. One reacts emotionally to every headline, buying high during euphoria and selling low during fear. The other follows a simple plan, ignores short-term fluctuations, and stays disciplined through market cycles. Over decades, the difference in outcomes is staggering, not because of superior stock picks, but because of superior psychology. The disciplined investor's advantage isn't genius. It's emotional regulation and behavioral consistency. The encouraging news is that behavioral investing isn't complicated. It doesn't require advanced financial knowledge or constant market monitoring. It requires understanding your psychological triggers, establishing clear rules before emotions flare, and automating as much as possible. When you design systems that prevent emotional reactions from becoming financial actions, investing becomes remarkably stress-free. This chapter reveals how to make psychology your greatest asset instead of your biggest liability. Fear and greed are the twin forces driving most investment mistakes. Fear makes us sell during downturns, locking in losses and missing recoveries. Greed makes us chase hot stocks, buy at peaks, and take excessive risks. Both emotions override logic because they activate the amygdala, the brain's alarm system, which prioritizes immediate survival over long-term strategy. When markets drop, your brain interprets financial loss as physical threat, triggering panic responses designed for escaping predators, not managing portfolios. Loss aversion intensifies this reaction. Behavioral economists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky discovered that losses feel roughly twice as painful as equivalent gains feel pleasurable. This asymmetry explains why investors hold losing positions too long, hoping to break even, while selling winners prematurely to lock in gains. The disposition effect, selling winners and keeping losers, is one of the most costly behavioral patterns, yet it feels emotionally safer because it avoids admitting mistakes. Herd mentality compounds poor decisions. When everyone around you is buying or selling, the social pressure to conform becomes overwhelming. This instinct served our ancestors well. Following the group increased survival odds. Today, it drives market bubbles and crashes. Herding causes dramatic rallies and sell-offs, as investors mimic the crowd rather than thinking independently. The fear of missing out or being left behind overrides rational analysis, leading to buying high and selling low. Overconfidence bias creates another trap. Congratulations on completing the 90-day money reset. You've built awareness, established systems, and reinforced growth. The habits, identity, and confidence you've developed will serve you for decades. Continue practicing, refining, and celebrating. Your financial future is bright, not because of luck, but because of the person you've deliberately chosen to become. Conclusion: your new financial identity. You've reached the final page, but in truth, this is a new beginning, one built not just on knowledge, but on transformation. As you reflect on your journey through these chapters, pause for a moment and recognize how much has changed. The old story, that you were simply bad with money, that lasting wealth was beyond your reach, or that financial mastery was reserved for experts, no longer rings true. Who you are with money has shifted, not all at once, but through dozens of small, intentional steps, insights, and courageous experiments. Throughout this book, you learn that most money struggles don't come from a lack of income or discipline, but from subconscious patterns, emotional triggers, and unexamined beliefs. You learn to see overspending not as weakness, but as a solvable pattern. You discovered how childhood and culture shape your financial mind, and how to rewrite those inherited scripts. You practiced turning fear and shame into data, using every slip as a stepping stone rather than a reason to give up. You claimed your right to abundance by reframing identity and designing systems that work for you, not against you. Financial mastery is not about perfection. It's about progress, a continual process of curiosity, reflection, and small course corrections. The person who started this book looked for ways to fix their behavior. The person you've become has learned to understand, accept, and compassionately nudge your habits in the direction of wealth, calm, and self-respect. You've built systems that protect against willpower fatigue and embrace the idea that money is both practical and profoundly psychological. You now have tools to build on forever: awareness routines, habit trackers, identity-based affirmations, and automated structures that make good choices automatic. Whenever you find yourself slipping back into old patterns, and you will, from time to time, remember that every trigger is an invitation to pause and apply what you know. The skills you developed are portable. They will serve you as your life evolves, your income grows, and your goals change. Most importantly, your self-image has evolved. You now carry the mindset of someone who is capable, worthy, and deserving of financial well-being. This is your new financial identity. Someone who acts with intention, learns with humility, and pursues wealth not out of fear or shame, but from a place of vision, confidence, and self-trust. The external numbers will catch up with your internal transformation. Keep revisiting key practices and don't stop with money. The same principles of awareness, intentional systems, and identity work can enhance every area of life: health, relationships, work, and fulfillment. Each intentional step, no matter how small, compounds over time. When you look at your statements, set goals for your family, or consider your next big purchase, remember, you get to choose which story to believe about yourself. The story of stress, chaos, and defeat is no longer yours. The story of calm, clear, empowered decision-making, that is who you are now. Thank you for the courage to undertake this journey. The habits, systems, and self-trust you've built are yours for life. Your new financial identity is the greatest wealth you'll ever possess. Acknowledgements. No book is ever the work of one person alone. This project, The Psychology of Money Habits, would not exist without a community of thoughtful mentors, friends, colleagues, and readers whose insights and encouragement have shaped every chapter. First, thank you to the behavioral scientists, psychologists, and personal finance educators whose groundbreaking work inspired so much of what's found in these pages. Your research, writing, and dedication to understanding human behavior set the foundation on which this book is built. Special thanks to my friends and family, who patiently supported me through endless brainstorming sessions, manuscript drafts, and late-night conversations about the quirks of money psychology. Your steadfast encouragement made the long journey both possible and joyful. Thank you for your belief in the vision, even when it was just an idea scribbled in a notebook. To early readers, editors, and reviewers, your honest feedback, tough questions, and careful attention elevated the final product. I am grateful for every suggestion, critique, and word of support you offered along the way. This book is far better because of your careful guidance. To those who have bravely shared their stories of financial struggle and transformation, thank you for trusting me with your experiences. Your vulnerability and resilience are reminders that financial change is not just about numbers, but about people, healing, and hope. Finally, thank you to my readers. Whether you are discovering these ideas for the first time or deepening a lifelong journey, your commitment to change and growth inspires me. May these pages offer guidance, encouragement, and clarity as you build your own path to financial freedom and self-trust. With gratitude, Taylor Reed Haley. About the author. Taylor Reed Haley is a behavioral psychology writer, financial well-being advocate, and coach dedicated to making money mastery accessible to everyone. With a passion for blending science, storytelling, and practical strategies, Jordan helps readers overcome emotional spending, anxiety, and self-doubt to build lasting financial freedom. Drawing from years of research, mentoring, and real-world experience, Jordan specializes in simplifying complex concepts into clear, actionable steps. Through workshops, writing, and coaching, Jordan has helped thousands of individuals and families rewire their relationship with money and create systems that align with their deepest values. Outside of writing, Jordan enjoys hiking, community volunteering, and exploring new cafes, often with a notebook in hand, dreaming up the next project to support others on their journey to clarity and confidence. Whether you're just beginning your financial transformation or searching for the missing piece, Jordan's work is proof that meaningful, sustainable change is not only possible, but within everyone's reach. Resources and further reading. No single book can answer every financial question or address each unique journey. If you're ready to continue your learning, deepen your understanding, or supplement the tools in this book, the following resources are highly recommended. Personal Finance and Behavioral Psychology. The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. A modern classic on how emotion, perception, and behavior shape financial destiny more than investment returns or technical skill. Your Money or Your Life by Vicky Robin and Joe Dominguez. A step-by-step guide to transforming your relationship with money and building a lifestyle grounded in freedom and values. Atomic Habits by James Clear. A science-based look at how tiny behavioral changes compound into powerful, lasting transformation in finances and beyond. Nudge. Improving Decisions About Health, Wealth, and Happiness by Richard H. Thaler and Cass R. Sunstein. Explores the science of decision architecture and how small environmental changes steer better financial choices. Mind Over Money by Brad Klontz and Ted Klontz. Brings psychology and practical strategies together for healing money scripts and building healthy saving and spending habits. I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. Accessible, actionable advice for building out automatic systems covering spending, saving, and mindful investing. Habit Building and Self-Development. The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. Deep dives into the psychology of habit loops and how to redesign them for lasting personal change. Mindset. The New Psychology of Success by Carol S. Dweck. A look at growth versus fixed mindset and how self-belief fuels resilience in money and life. Online courses and communities. Coursera/Yale University, Financial Markets by Robert Schiller. An Ivy League Introduction to Markets, Risk, and Investor Psychology. Bogleheads.org. A friendly, evidence-based community focused on simple, index fund investing and long-term wealth. The Behavioral Science and Policy Association, BSBA. Up-to-date research and resources in behavioral decision-making. Recommended websites and tools. NerdWallet.com. Tools, calculators, and honest reviews for spending, saving, and investing. BehavioralEconomics.com. News and explanations on the latest in decision science and its application to everyday life. Mint, NAB, You Need a Budget, and Personal Capital. Leading apps for expense tracking, budgeting, and financial system automation. No matter where you begin, remember, progress comes from small, steady steps and a commitment to learning. Keep exploring, stay curious, and trust in your ability to create lasting financial and personal freedom. Warm wishes for your journey. Taylor Reed Haley.